Good Erev Shabbos. We have very interesting Gemara today. We had a case yesterday where a guy goes ahead, he steals the field, he sells it to a guy, and obviously the guy is going to lose his field. We had a machloikis if the guy improves the field, does he collect or not? Machloikis, Shmuel, he doesn't get the shvach. Michsei charibis, according to Rabbi, you could get the shvach. The Gemara passes on halacha, you would even get the shvach. You'd be able to recollect the shvach. But it's a very interesting case. Let's say I steal a field from Avrami Weinrib. I sell it to Lenny. Okay, good. What's going to happen? Avrami Weinrib is going to go back and take it from Lenny. What happens if I buy the field from Avrami Weinrib? I become the nigzal. I become the one that was stolen from. Can I collect it from Lenny or not? And that's double. Not only did I mess him up by selling him a stolen field, now I'm coming along and repossessing the field that I stole. I sold to him. That's the Gemara's kasha. This Gemara's kasha. Very fascinating. Okay, so now says the Gemara. We're on Yud Tes Vav Amid Beis. Tes Vav Amid Beis. We are about 8 lines up. 2, 4, 6, 8. Boy minei shmo meirav. Chazer. I go back. I'm the Goslin. The locha mi bailam rishonim, and I buy it from Avrami. I go back. I'm buying from Avrami. Mahu. What's the din? Can I go now and collect it from Lenny, who I sold it to? Right? Am I in the place just like Avrami could collect it from Lenny? So too I can collect it from Lenny. So Amalei. So Rav told Shmuel, very interesting guys. You don't very often questions of Shmuel asking Rav a question. Usually they're the ones being asked the questions, right? It's a little rare, in fact, that Shmuel's asking a question from Rav. And he says to him, Rav answers, Amalei, Rav answers Shmuel, Mama chalo rishain l'sheni kol shchus shetav liyadai. What does that mean? Says Rashi, Amalei, le'matzi lafkua. I'm not able to go ahead and take it away from Lenny. Shekeshem machar, when I sold it to Lenny, machaloi kol schus shetav liyadai. I sold him any schus that there was in his hand. Ukeshalacha, and when he bought it, leilacha elakadei shetei mekuyim biyad lekeach. Right? I sold it that it should be in the hands of the lekeach. So therefore, the fact that I buy the field now from Avrami does not give me the right to go ahead and collect the field from Lenny. Because when I sold it to him, I sold him any schus that I possibly could have to collect. And I don't have any schus to collect, right? And even now, even though now I do have a schus to collect, I didn't sell that to him. I sold the field to Lenny that it should stay in Lenny's rishus. I sold the field to Lenny that it should stay in his rishus. So again, a stolen field sold. The Goslin now becomes the nigzal. He becomes the one that is the owner of the field. He wants to repossess the field. He cannot repossess the field because just like he couldn't repossess the field before he bought it from the nigzal, he can't go ahead and repossess it after he bought it from the nigzal. So, my timer, what's the reason? So therefore, why would I buy it? Guys, if I don't repossess it, why would I buy it? And what am I doing? If I'm going to buy a field that I can't use, why would I buy the field if I can't repossess it? So the answer obviously is I want the field to stay by Lenny. I don't want Avrami coming along and taking it from Lenny. I don't want the nigzel taking it from the lekeach. So what I'm doing is I'm stopping Avrami from getting it from Lenny, thus keeping it in Lenny's rishus. Why would I be such a nice guy? Right? What's the reason? Continues the Gemara. My timer, Mazutra Amar Nichale, the Nikraya Gaslana. I don't want to be called a Goslin. In other words, I don't want that Lenny should have tinus on me, right? He shouldn't say misaverta about me, bad things about me. I don't want to be called a Goslin. So in other words, if it's taken away from him, he's going to be, wow, I bought a field. I thought everything was hunky-dory. Turns out, what? Stern was a Goslin? I don't want that. I want my reputation. I don't want to be called a Goslin. I don't want to be called a Goslin. Rav Ashi Amar. Rav Ashi says, it's good for me that I should remain with the reputation. What's the difference between being called a Goslin reputation? Might be Nayu. What's the difference? Apparently they're very close, right? I want it to stay by Lenny. Do I want it not to be called a Goslin, or I want it to have a better reputation? It could be Nayu, the Meis Lekeach. the person who bought it dies. The person who bought it dies. We're not going to say names, but the person, the lekeach dies. According to the opinion that says the reason why you want to keep it by the lekeach is because you want to be called a gazlan, right? Hamayis lay, he's not going to be called a gazlan. Because the guy who could call them a gazlan is no longer in this world, right? Who would call them a gazlan? The lekeach guys. Lekeach is losing the field. Why? Because he sold him his stolen field. I don't want to be called a gazlan, so I make sure that it won't be repossessed. I'll make sure it'll stay by the person, the lekeach. And therefore, what happens if the lekeach is no longer in the world? So I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. I'm not going to call me a gazlan. So in other words, then he could repossess it. Right? So Pirish, if the whole reason was that you want to be called a gazlan, once the lekeach's out of the picture, repossess the field. You bought it from the person it was stolen from, repossess it. No one's going to call you a gazlan. He's not here anymore. But if it's for your own reputation, if you go ahead and take it away from the kids, so your reputation is also is mush. Elamat, if the lekeach dies, you'd keep it by the kids. That would be the nafkamina. You keep it by the kids because you want your reputation to be intact. For the record, Heshi's on the move, guys. If you take a look, I don't know if you can see him. Harold, say something. They can see you on the move there. He's outside.
I'm tuned in. I'm entering my vehicle as we speak, but I'm on the top of the share.
Yeah.
Verbally, I'll listen in.
Should we play like the music from Dragnet?
I don't want no comments. I'm on the share.
Yeah.
Just as long as Heshi, just turn off your phone. Okay, just turn off your phone. Okay, anyway, guys, you hear Geshmak. Outside one more time. Why? If this person, this Gazlan, he went ahead, stole he stole the field and sold it. Now he buys the rights to the field. Why in the world would he do that? In other words, if he can't collect it, and obviously he can't, no one argues on that. Why would he do it? Says one opinion, because he doesn't want to be called the Gazlan. Says another opinion, he wants has a good reputation. Why did nafkamina be? If the lekeach's out of the picture because of his demise, no one's going to call him a Gazlan, apparently. On the other hand, if he's worried about his reputation, then if he takes it back from the Yarshim, his reputation is garbage. So therefore, that would be the nafkamina. If the lekeach is out of the picture, he could repossess it. If the lekeach is in the if the reason else is Gazlan, he could repossess it. If the reason else is Hemnusa, right, he wants his reputation to be intact. The Gemara is going to ask, if he's worried not to be called a Gazlan, so what do you think the lekeach's kids are going to call him? Uncle Harry, they're going to call him a Gazlan. Says the Gemara. Says the Saif, 3 lines down. Karilate b'nei lekeach. The b'nei lekeach are going to call him Gazlana. So that can't be the nafkamina. It can be nayu the meis Gazlan. Oh, the Gazlan died. Now the Gazlan died. Now the Yorshim, do the Yorshim collect the field or not? So he doesn't care what they call him. So his Yorshim can come along and repossess it from the lekeach. In other words, he'd want his reputation even after his demise to be intact. They're going to call his sons, the sons of Gazlanim, if they repossess the field. Again, what are you saying now? He's dead, so they don't care if he calls him a Gazlan. So let his kids go repossess the field. So they're going to call him B'nai Gazlana. That's the bottom line. So that can't be the nafkamina. So what's the other nafkamina? El ikaminayu the yav b'matana. That what? That it's not speaking with what? There was a mecher. He stole the field and he gave it b'matana. He stole the field and he gave it b'matana. So I stole the field, I gave it to Lenny. Mandam anichadei delekim b'amnusei, matana nami nichalei b'amnusei. Right? I buy the field. And now I'm gonna go back on my word. I don't want to go back on my word. I want to be. In other words, there's no Gaslanim over here. There's no gezel over here. You're not going to call it Goslin. Lenny didn't pay anything. Lenny didn't pay anything. He received a present, right? He received a present. So man nichale the lake and bamuse. He wanted to be lake and bamuse. Man dama nichale the lake nekraya gazlana. Amalei my gazlina minach. Right? Why? Why did I? What did I steal from you? I didn't steal anything from you. I didn't take anything back from you. Says the top place. Says my gazlina minach. I'm talking about my gazla. Like tzarch lahachslein moisav. The lekeach either way is going to get money. Lenny's getting money back either way. So he's going to call me a Goslin. Good, let him call me whatever he wants. The bottom line is, I'm going to have to reimburse him for the money he spent. So if by Matana there's no Goslanis, even by Mecca there's no Goslanis, guys. In other words, we went through a whole Gemara. It's not going to be called a Goslin. What's the case? I steal the field from Avrami. I sell it to Lenny. Avrami repossesses it. Lenny can call me a Goslin. What are you talking about? I'm going to have to reimburse him for the money. Lenny's good. So if you're telling me it's a matana and there's no gazlanusa over here, even in the case of Mecca, there's no gazlanusa. On that, the whole time that you don't get the money back, you call the gazlan. You do let's say you buy something from someone, go to a store, right? And they have this policy of the return policy. Turns out to be a piece of junk. You go back and they tell you, oh, that deal that they'll start hacking you a chinik. No, they really don't want it. The policy was for this part and not that part. Eventually you win. But during that kufa, you're fighting with them, right? What do you call them? Gazlanim, ganovim, you don't say anything good about them, right? So that's the word over here. Nafkamina would be what you call them beintaim. Says the Gemara. Now pshita. So again, continuing along this case. Continuing along the case where I stole it from Avrami and sold it to Lenny. Now, Pshita, Zavna, I go ahead and now I sell it to somebody else. I sold it twice. Nice guy. Urta, or I bequeathed it. V'yav matana, right? Or I gave it as a matana, right? And now the Goslin buys it. And now I buy it. So I did all these things, right? And then I buy it afterwards. So I gave the field away. I gave the field away as a matana. So I gave, look at Rashi. Zavna urchta im koidim shalachach min abaylim. Chazru machul ish acher. If before I bought it from Avrami, I sold it to another guy. Levad min arishain, aside from Lenny. So I double dipped. So before I bought it back from Avrami, I stole it from Avrami, I sold it to Lenny, and then I sold it to Meir Leib Gewurtzman. Or I was Morisha to one of my sons. Or Yav Matana, or I gave it to Matana. And after that, I went ahead and bought it from Avrami. Good. So I sold it to Lenny, and Beintayim, I did a few other things. I either sold it to somebody, bequeathed it to somebody, gave it some matana to somebody, and then I bought it from Avrami, right? What's the Gemara? Havadai says Rashi, daite the lavlu ukmi kame lekeach rishon boy. I didn't want to keep it by Lenny. And I didn't care about my reputation because I sold it to somebody else. When do we say I'm worried about my reputation? When I borrow it from Avrami to keep it by Lenny is when I don't do anything else. But let's say I do something else, I sell it to Lenny, and all my actions that I do show I don't care about my reputation at all. I don't care what Lenny calls me at all, because at the end, there's going to be a vikuach over this. The one I was Morisha to, Meir Gewurtzman is going to get involved. The one I give us my ton is getting involved. I'm showing that I don't want it to stay by Lenny. Then the fact that I bought it is not a raya. I do want it to stay by Lenny. Again, I didn't buy it yet. I sold it to Lenny. Then I do a bunch of other things, matana, and then I buy it. So the svara is saying then I buy it since I can't collect from Lenny. The svara is I want it to stay by Lenny. You don't say that svara if I do something else. Says Rashi, says the Gemara, lavlu ukme kame lokeach kaboi. In that case, we don't say I want it to stay by Lenny. because I did all these other things show I don't want to stay by Lenny. Again, I sold it. Initially, I stole it and sold it to Lenny. Then I did 3 other things. Either I sold it to somebody else, gave it as a matana, or was Moirish to a child. And then I buy it. Right? Then I don't want to stay by Lenny. Because or else I wouldn't have gone ahead done those things. Okay. Nafnale biyerusha. Let's say Avrami Weinberg decided that, you know what, Lachamei Vesmashana, his favorite Rabbi Eli Stefansky, is going to go ahead and he's going to inherit. I think I'm funny.
He doesn't need money. He doesn't need money.
He doesn't need money, right? Okay. And so he writes, I now become the nigzal, but not because I bought it from Avrami, but he bequeathed it to me, right? I'm getting it, but I'm not getting it mitaris mecha. I'm getting it from mitaris Yerusha. So guys, when I go ahead and buy it from Avrami, what's the reason I'm buying it? To keep it in Lenny's possession. But over here, I didn't do an action. To keep it in Lenny's possession. What did I do? Nothing. It happened in Mela. It's a beautiful Law Mishnah Gemara, guys. It goes to really psychology. In other words, when I buy it, what am I doing? I want to keep it by Lenny. I don't want him to call me a goslin. I want a reputation. But what happens? I sell it to Lenny, and I end up being the owner of the land, but not because I did an action. It happened in Mela. I got a Yerusha. So that's what the Gemara wants to know. Nafle be Yerusha memelehi, v'lav ihi kotarach abasra, and therefore we don't say that I'm doing it to keep in Lenny's rishus. So, or gavi ihu b'chayvai. Another case, I stole the field from Avrami, but Avrami owes me money, and now I'm collecting that field as my chayv. So, in other words, it's coming to me in a multiple different ways. What's the din vis-a-vis Lenny? In other words, can I go ahead and take it from him? So it's comments by Yerusha. We're saying no. Yerusha, you could take it from him. You're not doing it for him, Nusa. The whole reason you're doing it, you didn't do anything. You didn't buy it. What happens if what? If you collect it as a chayiv? Chazinon. I isle ara achrita. If there's other land that I can collect my chov from Avrami from, v'amar hay be'inan l'ukme kamei loikeach kaboi. V'loi zuzihu deboi apruei. Okay, Gishmak, guys, listen to this beautiful svara. I steal this land from Avrami. I sell it to Lenny. Now I go to Avrami. I say, Avrami, you owe me $100. He goes, yeah, I know, but I don't have any cash to pay you, Rabbi. I said, yeah, but you got land A. You got land A. I want to collect $100 from land A. He has land A and B. I just choose A. A happens to be the field that I stole and sold to Lenny. Why am I makbid to ask for land A and not land B? Because I want Lenny to keep land A. That's why I'm makbid. I'm makbid Gufa to go ahead and say, that's the land I want, because I don't want Avrami going back and bothering Lenny. If I take land B, what's Avrami going to do? 1 second. You stole land A, you sold it to this guy, it's my land. Why am I makbid to collect my choy from land A? Is to keep it by Lenny. Beautiful svara, says the Gemara. So therefore, if it falls to me, be Yerusha, okay, we said Memela, therefore I don't want it necessary to keep it by Lenny. If I collect the chayiv. Now see, chazina. If Avrami has other land besides the land that I stole, the Omar, and I tell Avrami when I want to collect, right? I want this one. I want land A. I'm doing it for the purpose of keeping it by what? Lenny. The Eloi, however, if he has, I don't say I want land A. I say, well, give me B, give me anything. Then Zuzehu deboy apruye, and therefore I don't want to keep it by Lenny. Now, Yov Nele b'matana. What happens if Avrami gives me the land b'matana? Do you view it as Yerusha? or do you view it what as aloy? I didn't do an action to show I wanted the land to stay by Lenny. Just like Yerusha happened by itself automatically, so to Matana happened automatically. The Chadama Matana Kemecha, no. Matana is like I bought it, and therefore it does stay by Lenny. Why would Matana be like a Mecha like I bought it? The Lav de Torach va'artzi kamei, if not that I was Tareach and took care of Avrami wine rib, even though not necessarily is he loyal to me as in a share, but I took care of him very much so. Matana. He never would have gone ahead and given to me as a matana. He never would have given me as a matana. So therefore, it's like a mecha. That's what I wanted to do. Here's what I did. I don't have money to go ahead and buy the land from Avrami. I don't want Avrami going to Lenny. I want Lenny to keep the land. So I tell Avrami, listen, I know that there's another Maggid share out there that you really like to go to, but you know what? I'm going to give you private lessons. I'm going to go ahead and any question you have, I'm going to learn with you privately on the phone. I'll give you, not only that, I'll give you all the food you want to eat when we learn together. I'll give you a bib. I'll make sure that you have anything you want. And you know what? And he goes, hey, 1 second. Wow, he knows it's nice to me. You know what? I'm going to give him that land. Then it's like a mecha, because the whole reason that I went ahead and sucked up to Avrami was to get what? Was to get the land. So therefore, it's sharp to say Matana is like a mecha. Versus, you could say it's like a Yerusha, that I didn't spend any money on it. It happened by itself, and therefore not. There's two ways to look at it. And two different Amoraim look in different ways. I find this Gemara fascinating. I find it the psychology of the Gemara going through. It's all svaris. It's very interesting svaris. How long are you? In other words, how long do you say that I'm doing this in order to keep it by Lenny? Until we go to court and Avrami gets a chance to rip it away. Up until then, if I buy it after then not. But other people argue. In order for Avrami to go ahead and take the field from Lenny, he would need a shtar drachta. Bezdin writes a shtar that gives him the right to repossess it. That usually is 90 days after Hamad B'din. So you have even longer. If I buy then in that period of time, I'd also be wanting to keep it by Lenny. And finally, after he has a right to go ahead and repossess it, then he has to sell it. That's like 30 days afterwards. You have the shtar of achrasasa that you call out land for sale. So each one progressively. One is Hamad B'din, one's 90 days after the other din, and the other one is 30 days after Hamad B'din.
Some blanks.
More. Anyway, so here we go. Maskiv lo Rami Barchama. So again, what's the time period for this that I can repurchase it until establish it by Lenny? It's machlokes. Hamad B'din, 90 days, 120 days. Maskiv Rami Barchama, Michti. Now, God, what did you say? He said, any rights that I sold to Lenny any rights that he has, I sold to him, right? What did Lenny buy? A land that I owned? He bought a stolen land. How in the world does it belong to Lenny? Where was the Kenyan? He bought the Brooklyn Bridge. He bought. It's telling me that he mamacha rishon sheni kol shchus tavul yodai. Any what schus does he have? He has no schusim. He didn't buy anything. Says the Gemara. That paper, that what? It's nothing. It was a basic hash on the whole sugya. So Amalei Rava. Okay, this is an interesting svara. It's what I'm makna the feel to him that he's soymich on me. He says, Lays, I trust you. My brother-in-law, I trust you unequivocally. You're going to take care of me. Whatever you do is good. So Rashi says, ani soymich alecha, shetetnena biyadi. I'm soymich that what? You'll give it to me. That, in other words, you're selling it to me. I'm soymich that it's mine. Bahu anah, says the Gemara, because samach alei. And that that with that hana that I have, that he's samech upon me, haruchu ma'asilei, I trouble myself and I bring it to him, gomer u'maknilei, and I'm gomer and I'm maknet to him. When I buy it from the original owner, that's when whatever kinyan that is, it's involved. In the Rishonim, it's involved. But there's such a kinyan that he's samech upon me and gomer u'maknet. It's not the shtar that does it. So he says, listen, you're taking care of me, I'm sure you're going to take care of me, I'm going to maknet to him. Okay, Masav Sheshes. Ma she'irish me Abba, machalacha. Whatever I inherit from my father should be sold to you. Masha Taila mitzidasi, whatever I collect in my mitzuda, in my net, my fish net, machalacha le'yamaklum. You don't say anything. So here's the kasha. The kasha is ready from here. Just like now, the kinyan is for the future. You're making a kinyan now for the future. It doesn't work. So too over here, Lenny could be gomer that on me, and I can have a makna. It's not going to work because I didn't buy the field yet. So just like over here, when you moirish it, it doesn't work in the future. So too the case over here. So he's asking about this whole concept. You're telling me that there's a kinyan over here. This is a futuristic kinyan. How does it work? It doesn't work. Just like you can't be makna when you're whatever you will inherit, you can't be makna. So too, guys, whatever I'll buy, I can't be makna. When I buy it from Avrami, I'm being makna now. That doesn't work. Whatever I catch in my net, it doesn't work. You can't be makna now. So that's what the Gemara is asking. So now it just concludes with a second case. Says the Gemara, Masha Tail Mitzidasi Machal Chol Yamaklum. Masha Irish Min Abba Hayoim, whatever I inherit from my father today, Machalacha, Masha Tail Mitzidasi Hayoim, Machalacha, then Dvar Kayamim. So in those cases, it will work. Okay, the Gemara will get back to the chilik. What's the difference between where you say Hayoim that it does work and you say in general it doesn't work? The bottom line is we have a kasha. How can a futuristic kinyan work? So Amarayim Barchama, Ha Gavra V'Hati Yufta. So Rabbi Barchama, this is the question of Rav Sheshes, and this is to Yufta. In other words, he lords the kasha, he lords the person, and he lords the kasha. Amarav Gavra Chazina. It's true, Rav Sheshes is a Gavra. He's a great person. To Yufta like Chazina, but his kasha is not such a great kasha. Why? Hacha Samchadaite. Right? When I go ahead, and I tell Len, I sell Lenny a field, he's Samich Das, to Smichas Das. V'hacha over there, like Samich Das. He doesn't know that right? He doesn't know what's going to be in the future. Because in other words, he knows that I bought the field from Avrami. He knows what any possibility of keeping the field in my hand, he'll be Torah and take care of it. So if it means involved going ahead and buying the field from Avrami, he's going to do it. So it's biyadai. Because I don't want to be called a Goslin, or I want my reputation intact. Hacha over here, like some Chadaiti. They hear there's no smichas das. He doesn't know what he's going to inherit. He doesn't know what's going to be. Right? He doesn't know what's going to be. Rashi, the first wide line. Maybe his father will sell it. Maybe he'll sell the property. Maybe he'll sell it. So in other words, no smichas das. Mashen came over there where I'm buying the property from Avrami, Lenny is slamach das upon me. That's the difference. So Rav Shaishas, you're a great man, but your kasha is not kan kasha. There's a big difference between inherit what I will inherit. There's no guarantee you're going to inherit, but what I will go ahead and take care, make sure that it stays by you, that you can be slamach das, that I can do. That's more like biyodai, guys, right? It's more within his power to do. Where you say Irish, you're not the only player in the world. Over here, there's something you can do. They sent this question in front of what? This question about being Moirish as a question on this whole sugya, right? And how does the kinyan work? It's the chasma ba'alma. So he says, this question we don't even have to bring inside. It's not such a big question. We do have to bring inside. The same answer. They asked the same question. Okay, so now that's the difference between the Yerusha. There's no smichas das. You don't know for sure you're going to get it. Mashen came where you samech on the person being troubling himself to ensure that the stolen field stays by him. Now, in the case of the Brisa, we brought two cases, right? One, he wasn't samech das where he's going to inherit it, but he says, whatever I inherit today is yours, whatever I catch today is yours. And there it works. What's the difference of that? Now, Heshi is bothered by the question about being makna davish olam. Heshi is always asked that question about being makna davish olam. Clearly, we're going according to Madiyom. It says other makna davish olam. Okay, I know Heshi was bothered by that. He always asks that question. Heshi, drive, concentrate on driving. Harold, concentrate on driving and make sure your phone is off. Now, says the Gemara. So Maishna Reisha, Maishna Seifa. What's the difference? Rav Yochanan Seifa Mashirish me'abba hayoim mishum kavod aviv. Right? Masha Tailu Mitzidas hayoim mishum k'dei chayav. Says Rashi, mishum kavod aviv. K'shayav goises. It's speaking where his father's on his deathbed. It's tzarich moyes l'kfurasai, and he needs money for his kfura, u'tachrichin, and for his shrouds. Muzal lichveit aviv. He's a mitzvah kibbutz that he shouldn't. So therefore, that's the difference where he says, whatever I inherit min abba hayoim machalacha, so mishum kavod aviv, it's going to be a good kinyan. What about mitzudasi? Amid beis mishum kidei chayav. He needs food. Mashatali mitzudasi yom tiknu chachamim sheyu dvaru kayamim. The chacham said his word should be mekoyim. Why? Shemet tzarchul mizaynais davamud. He needs to eat something. So the reason why it works over here by Irish father speaking with Kim to his father's agoisis, he needs the money, and also here he needs the food. So therefore they've said that day the kinyan would work. This field that I'm buying, when I buy it, it should be yours from now. I didn't buy it yet, but when I buy it, it should be yours from now, and therefore I'm not able to go ahead and go back on the deal. Says Rashi, when I buy it, I can't go ahead and back on the deal. Okay. Kana. If I buy the field, it belongs to whoever I bought it for, and I can't go back on the deal. Amarava, mistabim milsa derav, besod stam. In general, a sadistam, a field that I will buy. But if he says a specific field, we don't say that. Who says that he's going to sell it to him? So I go ahead and I say, when I buy this field A is going to be sold to Avrami Weinreb, from now, that doesn't, because there's no guarantee you're going to send this field. There's no guarantee. If I say a field, so there must be some field out there that I can acquire. But this field, who's to say he's going to sell it? Velikim, Lashon of Shua, Amarav afilu b'sadazu. That Rav said this in afilu b'sadazu. Michti. Rav kama Amar l'shmaitza. Who did Rav say the sugi according to? Reb Meir. He said the sugi going according to Reb Meir. Doma adam makna shav shel olam. Right? Again, the whole sugi is predicated upon this concept that a person can be makna something that is not in the world. The Tanya, a person says to a woman, Hiskachili la'achash es gayer. Right now he's a goy, and he says, "Be mekudeshes to me after I convert." La'achash es gairi. She's a Gentile, and he says, "Be mekudeshes to me after you convert." La'achash es tachra. He's an eved, and says, "Be mekudeshes to me after I get freed." Or she's a shifchan and says, "Be mekudeshes to me la'achash es tachari when you're freed." She's a married woman. He says, "Be mekudeshes to me now after your husband dies." Or after you receive chalitza. Right, you're married to the sister. Ain't mekudeshes. You're not mekudeshes. Right? When we say it's not la bala olam, it could be makna davar shel olam. It would work. Isha kesada zudamya. You're saying to a specific woman. You're not saying a general term. So you see that what? If you're going according to Reb Meir, and this whole sugi is going to Reb Meir, even if I would say, Avrami, I'm going to go ahead, and this field A, this particular field is sold to you, I'm acquiring it for you. After I acquire it, in fact, it would work. Amashmo. Hamoitzi shtar hakno b'shuk. And we met a shtar akna before. That means even if the loan doesn't take place, I'm being makna nechasim to you. Even if the loan doesn't take place, I'm being makna my nechasim to you. That's called a shtar akna. Yachzru lebailim. You go back and you give it back to the malva. If you're going to tell me that that the loan never took place, a shtar akna is irrelevant of the loan taking place, guys. It's irrelevant of the loan taking place. So what are you worried about? That he borrowed and he paid back, right? And there was no loan. So what are you worried about? You're worried about maybe he borrowed and paid back. So you have the shtar akna, right? This shtar says the following: that if I go ahead and I have a loan from Benji, my field is meshubet to Benji. Even if the loan doesn't take place, Benji can come in and take away from lekuchis. Now it's found in the street. There's two possibilities: A, the loan did take place; B, the loan did not take place. Okay, if the loan did not take place, Benji still has the right to collect because the shtar haknoah is a very powerful document. Even there's no hana. Now what do I taina? Benji comes and he's going to say to me, "What? Where's my?" I'm going to say, "Benji, I paid up." What are you talking about? There was a loan I paid up. We're not chayish they paid up because if I paid up, you know what I would have done that star? That star is a nuclear bomb. I'm ripping that star up. There's no reason in the world for me to keep that star around. The fact that it's existence is screaming, guess what? So Miman of Shach Benji gets the money. Either no halva or yes halva gets the money. Rav Nachman, Abba min Sifri Daini de Mashmuel Have. Abba was from the Sifri Daini of Mashmuel. Vavinon Kvashesha Kvasheva. I remember, so my father was a dayan. He was a cipher. And I remember when I was 6 or 7 years old, V'tachrana Davi Mechazrei, he called out V'amar, Hani Shtori Aknaisa, this Shtori Aknaisa, the Shtar Akna, the Meshkachech B'shukad that's found in the streets. Now, you could turn it to the milva. Why? Because that's the reason we just said, because we're not chayish l'paroyin. Amram afanan amitinino, kol maisa bezdin, any maisa bezdin, usually that's a star that had a henpick on it. Rashi says, kol maisa bezdin, kesal kedaitach star, shekosav by henpick, a star that was authenticated in bezdin, sheniskayim be bezdin, alma kivin de lekel amechesh l'shem loiva. Since we're not chayish, that maybe the loan did not take place, because why would you go through the trouble of having authenticated in bezdin? So any ma'aseh bezdin, how you say yachzer alma lechashin leparoyin. Okay, so we're saying that we're not chayish leparoyin. Okay, I'm going to stop over here simply because I'm not so clear. I don't feel the next piece of Gemara I know great. So rather than finish to the 2 dots, we can wait till Metzia Shabbos and I'll do it better then. So I wish everyone good Shabbos. Let's say a kapitel Hillim.